Hey everyone. So I just wanted to jump in here really quickly and explain to you a really cool transit that's coming up on April 11th. This is called Jupiter Cazimi, and you may hear a lot of astrologers talking about it as something that is very fortunate, very lucky, and it really is. In fact, Jupiter is the great benefic or the greater benefic in sources such as Cornelius Agrippa in his books, three books on occult philosophy. Jupiter is said to conduceth to gain riches, favor, love, peace, concord, appease enemies, and confirm honors, dignities, and counsels, and to dissolve enchantments. Picatrix even goes on to talk about how Jupiter rules wisdom, philosophy, and the interpretation of dreams. Jupiter in traditional astrology is the ruler of Sagittarius and of Pisces. So if we think about those qualities, Sagittarius being the philosopher, Sagittarius really diving into worldviews, theories, and all of the things that we believe, which then impact the way we act in the world. So your philosophy, your personal ethics, and then thinking a little bit about Pisces as well, those unconscious themes that come to the surface, dreams, and all of those things. These are some really interesting themes that you'll be able to take advantage of on April 11th. And in this video, I'm going to dive into why that is, what it looks like on a chart, and what makes this particular day for Jupiter so special. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the fact that on April 11th, Jupiter will conjoin the sun exactly. We call this a partile. It's within a degree, but this is an exact conjunction with the sun. And I will actually show you what this looks like. So I'm going to share my screen, and you can see on here in the lovely Luna program, we've got the whole sky. But if I go over here and just click on Jupiter, we can make that easier to see. The sun and Jupiter at 2145. They are at the very same degree and minute of the chart. And if we look at this even more, you can see here the sun and Jupiter are waxing conjunction. So they are together. And after this, Jupiter will change phases. So here you can see that the sun is setting and then Jupiter follows. That puts Jupiter at the evening star phase. But then if we move it forward, let's say a day, suddenly Jupiter's ahead of the sun. So when the sun arises, Jupiter will already have risen, which means Jupiter is now going to become a morning star, which is pretty cool. We won't be able to see Jupiter as much at night. You've been seeing Jupiter for the past few months, especially since like January or so, as Jupiter and Venus came together in the evening sky. Now Jupiter is coming together with the sun. You won't be able to see him with your eyes because you'd have to stare at the sun, and don't do that. But now Jupiter will emerge going past the sun and rising as a morning star. And this is even more beneficial of a Jupiter, or stronger of a Jupiter influence, because Jupiter does prefer to be a morning star in the chart. So Jupiter is also in Aries, where there is some triplicity dignity, but the sun is in Aries, where the sun is also dignified. The sun is exalted in Aries. So we have an exalted sun conjunct the greater benefic, who's got triplicity on his side. And this is a very big energy, big creative kind of day. If we incorporate Aries energy and the themes of Aries into what we're looking at for Jupiter as well as the sun, we see recognition, we see clarity, we see understanding and wisdom, and a lot of this divine source stuff. So you might actually, thinking about Jupiter ruling philosophy, religion, spirituality, as well as dreams, this is a perfect day, not only to meditate, but to really think on what is it that I'm trying to create in my life and create it. Aries is the creative force. It's like the first steps from the primordial of Pisces. So we do want to think about what actions can we maybe take in honor of this energy, and you'll feel the motivation to do it along with this because it's, what we're living in. But thinking about, how do I want to make the most of this day? How do I want to make the most and take a really tangible and informed and decisive step towards what it is that I can feel myself being drawn towards, that I can feel is meant for me. So that's something to keep in mind as we're looking ahead, for all of the things that you have coming up in your life. In the world in general, you might notice that Jupiter and the Sun Cazimi will bring recognition to things. With Aries being involved, we may notice a lot of action taking place, decisive actions happening. And so we'll be able to see what happens on this day and how does it inform the choices that I also make. So this is some ways that you can think about that. Now, let's dive into what the astrology of this is a little bit. So we saw on the chart we still see here that Jupiter and the sun are conjunct. And I'll pop it back here so we can look at the exact conjunction. This is called Cazimi. So if you've ever heard the word Cazimi, this is what it is. It's when a planet is exactly conjunct the sun. They are in the heart of the sun in Hellenistic sense. So traditional astrology, that could be anywhere within the full degree of being conjunct. But we also have the theory that's a little bit different of being within 15 degree minutes. So these smaller numbers right here. And of course, this is the perfect conjunction. Jupiter will be Cazimi within those 15 degree minutes for most of the day on the 11th. So if you're looking to do something that day, that is fine. Like throughout the day, you have good options. Now, I do want to point out that when we take away all of this, the moon is in Capricorn. There's nothing we can really do about that to also be able to take advantage of the Cazimi. You can do a couple hours earlier and maybe the moon will not have ingress. So if I come up here and if you're using Luna, this is exactly what you do. I'm not going to do months. I'm going to do hours. And I pop back a couple hours and I see if maybe I can move the moon back into, there we go. The moon's in Sagittarius, which now makes the moon ruled by Jupiter. So if you're on the East Coast, sometime around 1:07 p.m., that's probably your latest that you want to do something, because an hour later, the moon will move into Capricorn. It's not the moon's favorite place to be. The moon is considered in detriment in Capricorn. So if you're thinking, I want to do something really cool and I want to make it really awesome, this is the time that I would do. If you wanted to do something very particular, I would look into other things for you as well. This is actually quite a good time because the sun rules the whole chart, is Cazimi with Jupiter, is also conjunct the midheaven. So this is a pretty darn good electional time to use for something. So let's say 1:07 p.m. Eastern time on the 11th of April. Be sure to check this in your own location to make sure everything still works out. Different longitudes and different latitudes will have different skies and different proportions. So it may not be exactly the same as this, but it's still pretty cool and pretty helpful. So with that, we can talk a little bit about, I want to talk about a really great source to learn more about. This is called the synodic cycle of the planets, just the phases that the planets go through, similar to the moon in relation to the sun. So a planet's cycle around the sun in relation to the sun, as we view it on the chart, is called a synodic cycle. They're seasons, so to speak. We consider our revolution around the sun, we view that as seasons. Thinking about that from the perspective of watching other planets do it, that's the synodic cycle in astrology. So I recommend the Ancient Astrology in Theory and Practice, a manual for traditional techniques by Demetra George. She has 2 volumes of this. They are both amazing, but the synodic cycles and retrogrades and planetary phases and things like that can be found in the first volume. So that's a great place to start. And if you're really interested, it's on page 258 and 259. So if you want to learn more, you can actually go ahead, grab this book and see images and hear or read really great words from Demetra George. She does a great job explaining all of these things. So have a really great day on April 11th. Have so much fun with whatever you're doing. Bring to life that exuberance, and I'm sure you can't go wrong. I hope you have a fantastic Jupiter Cazimi.